Wormkeepers. The last memory I have of my childhood home is the way it felt to be small. I remember the shadows of towering trees stretching across the lawn, their gnarled branches like fingers reaching out to pull me back in. I didn't look back then, the day I left to pursue my obsession, a relentless quest to unravel the mysteries of parasitic infestations. To them, it was a quaint little hobby, a delusion, a disgrace. But the reality was darker. I didn't realize how much I'd changed until I stood at the edge of the driveway, the house looming before me like a specter from my past. The windows were dark, just as I'd left them, but the memories flickered within. My mother's laughter, my father's dismissive grunt, my siblings' mocking whispers. Wormkeeper, they'd called me. The name a bitter talisman that still stung with every syllable. I'd been the family joke, the outsider who lost their mind chasing shadows. Now, I was back. My journey had taken me deep into the bowels of the earth, into places that pulsed with life and death. I'd discovered things that were never meant to be known, things that lurked in the corners of our world, waiting for someone foolish enough to seek them out. I had become a renowned verminologist, a title that belied the horrors I'd uncovered. I'd become a warning, a harbinger, of the creeping dread that was just beginning to seep into the consciousness of the world. With a heavy heart, I stepped through the creaking door, the familiar scent of damp wood and old memories enveloping me. Silence draped itself upon the home like an unwelcome guest. The air felt thick, as if it carried the weight of all my family's disbelief. I almost turned back then, but something compelled me forward. I had to show them. I had to make them understand. As I moved into the living room, I caught sight of my mother first, a frail shadow of the robust woman who had once scolded me for my eccentric passions. Her eyes widened in disbelief as recognition flickered across her face. "You're back," she murmured, her voice trembling like dried leaves in the wind. "Mom," I said, trying to sound calm, "I need to show you something." My siblings joined her, faces twisted in a mixture of shock and confusion. The years had not been kind to them either, but their judgmental eyes remained unchanged. They had always seen me as the crazy one, and now I was determined to prove them wrong. I reached into my bag, pulling out a glass jar filled with writhing, luminescent worms. They glowed a sickly green, their bodies undulating with a life of their own. "These are the worms I've been studying," I explained, my voice dropping to a low, conspiratorial whisper. "They burrow into the soil at night, but they don't just inhabit the earth. They find hosts, and they control them." My father stepped back, his face paling. "What are you talking about? This is insane!" I pressed on, unable to contain the urgency. "They hollow out their hosts, Dad. They turn people into puppets, living, breathing husks driven by something else entirely. You think I've lost my mind? But look at what I've uncovered." Their faces twisted in disbelief, and the tension in the room grew thick enough to slice through. My mother's hands trembled as she clutched her apron, while my siblings exchanged nervous glances. And then it happened. The tremors began, a low rumble that seemed to emanate from beneath the floorboards, resonating through the very walls of the house. My heart raced as the realization sank in. I had awakened something. "What's happening?" My sister's voice was high-pitched, strained. I stood frozen, the jar clutched in my hands. The lights flickered, casting shadows that danced erratically across the room. And then, through the darkened doorway, I saw them, figures emerging from the shadows, their eyes glowing like the worms. They moved with a fluid grace, bodies twisting unnaturally, as if they were puppets on marionette strings. "Run!" I shouted, but it was too late. They were too close now. One of the figures lunged forward, its face distorted, horror etched into its features. I recognized it, my brother. "No, please stop," I cried, but he was not truly there anymore. The worms had taken him, twisting his form into something that should never have existed. My family recoiled in terror as they witnessed the reality I had tried to warn them about, the nightmare that had always loomed just beyond their understanding. Their mockery had left them blind, and now the price of disbelief was upon them. My brother's mouth opened wide, a gurgling sound spilling forth as writhing worms cascaded from his throat. I backed away, the jar slipping from my grip and shattering upon the floor. A cascade of glowing worms spilled out, writhing towards my family, finding new hosts, new bodies to infect. Panic erupted as they screamed, realizing too late the cost of their ridicule. "Why didn't you believe me?" I shouted, the agony of their disbelief piercing through my heart. "I warned you!" As the chaos unfolded, I turned and fled, leaving behind the suffocating weight of my family's scorn. I had returned home, only to witness the very horrors I had spent years unraveling consume the ones I had loved. Now I stood outside, the cool night air washing over me, the faces of the tortured and transformed still haunting my mind. I was no longer a mockery. I was a keeper of the worms, a guardian of the dark truths they represented. I had survived, but at what cost? The wind whispered through the trees, as if echoing my family's final cries. The night was alive with the sound of squirming bodies, a chorus of chaos that would never leave me. I had stepped into the depths of darkness, and though I could never return to who I once was, I understood the terrifying weight of knowledge, the burden of truth that few could bear. And as I walked away from the house, the glow of the worms flickering behind me, I knew I would never forget the look of terror in their eyes. They had mocked me for so long, but now they were the ones who had lost everything. The world was changing, and the darkness was hungry. The worms were coming, and this time no one would be safe.